What's the importance of sustainability in Atlantic salmon hatcheries? Focusing on essential issues such as housing and food to create a better quality of life for this fish is excellent, not only in a way that makes it healthier, but the changes also increase the quality of the fish, which would benefit both the business and also the quality of the fish's survival rate. Fisheries keep the Atlantic salmon from going extinct. 70% of the salmon found on the market are actually hatchery reared fish. This is due to the decline in population in the wilds because of dams, overfishing, and pollution. The thing with dams is that we have tried to overcome this by adding things such as fish ladders, though they are not as effective as we would want them to be. A thing that I would want to change about it is the attraction flow and the way that the platforms sit. From what I have researched, having something that has more platforms, possibly looking a bit more like a waterway, might make them more likely to go through that area. So having things like rocks could a way that you can tell the difference between a wild salmon and a hatchery reared salmon would be things such as the fat composition. There would be a higher fat content in a hatchery reared one, most likely due to the diet and the constant access to that food. Good and the bad of fish hatcheries. Now, the thing with this is that the fish have such a hard time surviving out in the wild that they do not have the ability to sustain their own population. So, without hatcheries, they would not exist in this current day and age. A thing that is very bad about fisheries, though, and or hatcheries, is that they do not have the proper equipment and or knowledge of how to create a fish that has the same qualities that one does in the wild. This is where sustainability comes in. So there would be a thing where you would have the quality of life that the fish has while it's in the hatchery. Having something where there would be more water flow or even just something within the tank that gives them something to keep them occupied, like mentally. There is studies shown in many different kinds of animals that when they are in a solitary area and they do not have any real stimulation, that they can gain a form of depression and or just lack the motivation to move around and to keep their brain active. There was a study showing that fish do, in fact, actually have a need for stimulation. So, having something at the bottom of the tank that they can interact with would be a great way to keep them active and moving. This could also possibly help with preventing diseases and illnesses in the future due to having a better immune system. As I had previously mentioned, there is a thing where the speed in which they grow is much different to how it is in the wild. Again, this is due to not having any predators and having a constant access to food within a certain time frame. Doing this was allowing them to grow at very rapid rates, so much so that if not properly contained, this can cause them to have skeletal and deformities, along with not having the proper housing. That is only if there is improper care. Though many hatcheries nowadays have a lot more quality control than how they used to. So this is not as bad as an issue. Something that can also be said is what kind of hatchery would be the best kind to support. From what I've seen, having things that are more inland is actually better in a sense, because there would be better control in the sense of disease, especially something like parasites, because having that could just spread like wildfire if not properly maintained. Now, there is a thing that we are not able to see it at an extremely early stage. So there is a chance that if you find one in a tank that has something, you can at least try to treat the entire tank and see if you're able to nip it in the bud before it becomes a issue that will cost a hatchery both time and money.